Okay, we should be live. Welcome to the stream, everyone, wherever you're watching, whether it be YouTube or Twitch. It should be a fun locals stream here. We've got another Trooper format tournament. This is a bit of an outdated launch. There we go. 8 players exactly right now, but there is still a little bit more time to sign up if you want to. So, yeah, actually, no, let's just call it here. I mean, I'll give it till the end of 5, but then we'll jump into it. So, okay, it's 5:01. So let's get this party started. Yeah. So I just need to do Retrobot stuff first, and then we should be good to go. But if you're new to Trooper format is the format held in August of 2007, and it is a very fun format from what we've seen so far. Very, very cool stuff as well. And yeah, I mean, it's very explosive too, so it is a fun one. So hopefully we'll get to see a bit of that explosiveness there. Now, okay, we're doing this one, and we're going to shuffle up those seeds because it's the locals, so yeah. Okay, and we're ready to go. Let me just refresh here so we can see all the new matchups there. And there we go. Yep, Dump Truck is the first comment there. Welcome to the stream, Dump Truck. And they're also going to be participating in this one too, so that should be pretty fun here. Yeah, let's dive on to Dueling Book and see what we got. I've been doing a fair amount of Trooper games this week. If you missed those videos, they've been a lot of fun just getting back into the swing of things because I've had a busy week before that. But I'm glad that I was able to get up some videos before we start the big monthly tournament starting this Sunday. So head over to the YGO from Zero Discord server if you want to participate in that on Sunday here. We got Jim Bob versus Gabibo Balandi as our first match here to see. Now, as a note, Gabibo Balandi won the last locals in Trooper format. So will they be able to do the run back? That remains to be seen. We'll have to find out. Got to take my sip of water here. Jim Bob is going first, pretty nice, but it seems like they've got a humble tee set and pass. Could be a variety of things here. Crush Card would be the best option for them. Crush Card is legal in this format at its full power. So that is something that they can use. And it seems like Gabibo Balandi is playing a bit of a different deck than they played last week. Last week they played sort of a DDT magical explosion deck list, which was very interesting. But this week it seems like they're doing something else because that deck was not playing Grand Mole, not playing Cyber Dragon, and this deck clearly is. But Cyber Dragon's going to be able to hit in for 2100 after the Grand Mole bounces back the set. Death Tornado going to come down in the end phase to hit that set card and potentially set another of Jim Bob's own, but it seems like they don't have another one that they want to set here. That to me implies they don't really have any traps in hand that like are actually very good in this situation. Because in general, I think it is good just to, if you have a plan to set a card on your following turn, it's good just to set that and go for that. But it seems like they do not have that there. But they're just going to go for a rat here, tack into the Sidra, take 700 and get out a Exiled Force from the deck, tribute that off to pop the Cyber Dragon. And they're down a bit bad here, it looks like. They're going to set one pass back. That could be the card they drew. Could just be that they did not want to set it off Dust Tornado before knowing what their draw was. But either way, Clody is in a pretty good spot here. Gabibo Balandi, that is, in a good spot. Swing out a Snipe Hunter and trying to hit that back row. Now, this could definitely turn into a bad spot for Clody if they do go for a bunch of snipes on this and just keep missing. Pitching a limiter removal, so it seems like they are playing a bit of a machine OTK deck here, or just a Troop Dupe Scoop deck, you know, like that is a card that those decks can play if they want to, because you go Card Trooper, you activate Machine Duplication, and then your opponent scoops it up after that limiter removal gets fired as well. But it seems like the Sniper is just going to poke in for 15 after getting rid of a Dust Tornado, and now we're going to pass back to Jim Bob here. So the other back row is bottomless. Unclear what that new back row is. Could be another bottomless. We don't know yet. But we'll have to watch and find out. How am I coming in on Twitch, by the way? Seems like my bit rate's relatively low. But let me know if it actually does look good or not. Yeah, on my end, it seems fine. But I don't know, that can be deceiving, potentially. But Heavy Storm on the Saku there, so that will clear that. Now we're going for a Bazoo here to potentially beat over that Snipe Hunter. They're banishing the Exiled and the Rat to potentially withstand another Cyber Dragon push here. But this does leave them with no monsters in grave, so that Bazoo won't be able to buff it up next turn unless something happens here. But Jim Bob going to set one, pass back to their opponent. Bazoo Return, very interesting deck in this format because you've got the Troopers, which can mill a bunch of cards to grave. So that can be pretty good for you there. Seems like there's a gadget deck because Green Gadget coming down, searching out another gadget from deck to hand. So not quite Machine OTK, but more like gadgets with a limited removal package in it, which is pretty good in gadgets, honestly. Smashing around for the Bazoo is going to be pretty good for Clody here. They're going to attack in with the green for 14, and that's going to connect. And Jim Bob's in a very tight spot here. Now, they could have a return for the Rat, which would be not a terrible play, or they just have another Rat. Rat attack into the green is going to be pretty good here, and then you get to bring out another monster from your deck, potentially another Rat. That could be the third Rat coming down here. I don't think the third Rat would be a bad option here by any means, but it could be something else, like a Grand Mole for that tempo. We don't know what they're going to bring out yet. It seems like DD Warrior is going to be the choice. This means they either have a Rat in hand, or they're not playing a third Rat, or it's just they feel like having this card to do like 1-for-1 removal on whatever their opponent does next is a pretty good option here. Variety of different reasons why they could have done this. But the red gadget coming down here, that will get them a search of a yellow gadget here. And there's the yellow. Fun fact, the background of all the gadgets is the color of the card that searches them. So as you see, yellow gadget's background is red, just like red gadget, which searches it. And green gadget's background here is yellow. So kind of neat thing. Red gadget's background is green as well. So kind of cool there. Also, it's interesting that the gadgets are green, red, and yellow, like go, stop, and slow down. That's kind of neat too. Card Trooper coming down here, milling 3. Milling one Card Trooper, a Dust Shoot, and a Comfy. And Comfy is, yeah, I mean, those are probably good hits. You're probably fine with those because it gets a monster in grave, 1 for Bazoos. And Dust Shoot is like not necessarily the best in this situation because your opponent has multiple monsters guaranteed in hand, so it's kind of awkward there. Sidra coming down, so maybe the Dust Shoot would have been good, but they wouldn't have drawn that at that point. So, and Comfy, you might not have enough life points to even use Comfy, especially if they attack over the Trooper with the Cyber Dragon here. Yeah, rough spot for Jim Bob here. And there goes the yellow. Says, is lethal on board if Jim Bob did not have a way to deal with this. They haven't skipped it up yet, so they might have a way to deal with this. A Sidra attacking in here, and that's going to be met with a Mirror Force. That's a very, very good way to deal with that indeed. So those monsters will go to the graveyard there. A nice 2-for-1 trade, and you got that Card Trooper still online for the next turn. 1,900 plus 1,900 here is going to be pretty good. That's 3,800 total. Milling a bunch there. And this is going to be a fair bit of damage against Clody here, and Return is going to finish it up. So that explains why they went for the DD Warrior to get another card to return back there. So very, very cool stuff. Bazoo Return taking game 1 there. If you're new to these locals, we like to jump around between all the different locals going on. Just so that way we can get a peek at what everyone's playing here. So we're going to jump in. Wowza. This is definitely a game state. This is kind of wild. So it seems like it's Gerbil versus Clemens here. And is Future Fusion bringing out that Chimera Tech? Yeah, so everything gets popped here. If the Future Fusion brings out Chimera Tech, because Chimera Tech blows up the board when it is summoned. Now, if you have Cyber Phoenix, you can get around that. But, you know, if you don't, then everything goes. So everything must go here, including that Future Fusion. And, yeah, Clemens has got a bit of an annoying board to crack. Now, there is no heavy used up, so if there is a heavy, you can clear that board, and there's the heavy. But there's the Solemn to stop the heavy, so you would have liked that Solemn to stick around there on your side of the field to use that. We don't know how many turns that Wave Motion Cannon has been active for, but if you don't really have any ways to defend against all those monsters there, that's going to be a bit annoying. MST on the Messenger, so this means that Miles to Gerbil probably is a way to deal with something on this board. They're going to go for a pre-mat here, probably targeting Jinzo, I would assume. Yep, there's the Jinzo target, and we'll have to see if that goes through. Clemens is thinking here. I think, honestly, it might have been better if you were going to MST the Messenger to just go for pre-mat on the Jinzo first, just in case they've got like another Solemn here or something like that to shut that down. But then again, they would have used Solemn and then stopped the prevent anyways, but you could have potentially used the MST on the wave motion cannon instead if you felt like that was a better choice there. But they could also have something in hand to punish an activation of Solemn. We have not seen a normal summon yet out of Gerbil yet. So this sequencing could specifically be because they've got a way to punish a Solemn activation here. There's the Sidra, so it seems like that's pretty good. And there's the dupe as well. Oh, that is very good indeed. So they get to bring out 2 more dupes from deck, and if they want to, they can attack over Mystic Tomato, for instance, with one of the dupes, and then Clemens is forced into an awkward spot where it's like, do I bring out another monster here to potentially soak up some damage? This is a very, very good turn for Gerbil. This explains why they did what they did there. They're just going to mill 2 for one of the troopers, because that one's going to attack over the tomato, presumably. And then will they do more on the others? Yep, 3 and 3. So it seems like they're going to mill 3, and there's the limiter gone. So if you're Clemens, you're probably breathing a sigh of relief at that, because that is one of the things that could have killed you here. Like, there's potentially an option where, you don't bring out anything off Mystic Tomato because you're like, well, if they've got limiter, I just lose the game on the spot. But they might not bring it out anyways, and it seems like they will indeed not do that. And now the other troopers are in kind of an interesting spot. Do you attack into the sets? Do you not? I feel like you probably do. And yep, there's one attacking in there, hitting a stealth bird that might have been known about already. And then they're debating about whether they're attacking the other. They are indeed going to do that. That's going to be a Reaper there. Honestly, very, very good setup for Gerbil at this point now. We don't know how many turns are on the wave motion, but again, as I think, this is going to be the first turn. Yep, that is the first turn here. Now, Clemens can attack over. Ooh, that level limit's going to be pretty decent, switching the Cider to defense, but the troopers will not be switched to defense here. So, but this might still be enough, because if Gerbil does not have a way to deal with the level limit or the Reaper, then they're in a bit of a tough spot here. If we check their grave, see what they've used up and what's been milled off the trooper, you can see that True Nade is gone, so they don't have that option there. Heavy's gone, of course, they used that already. Yeah, a bit of a tricky spot to be in, but they might still have ways to deal with that cannon or deal with the level limit. But yeah, they got to also get aggressive here to also kill Clemens before they deck out. So interesting stuff there. Gerbil says, I just got a terrible idea for a deck all of a sudden. I'm excited to see what that will be, and if that will develop into anything in the near future. But that's turn 2 on the wave motion, setting a card here that set could be something like a Secret Barrel or something like that, that could potentially really mess up Gerbil's day. Now, as a note, it might not be, because they didn't fire the cannon last turn. With 3 counters on cannon, they might fire it this turn, though. Depending on what that set card is there. They are indeed going to fire that, deal 3,000 damage to Gerbil here. That's going to be a lot. Down to 300 against a burn deck is never a good sign. Activating another wave motion here. And if Gerbil cannot win this turn, they will lose, and that will indeed be the end of the game. So intense stuff there. I think there was potentially a world. I mean, it's tough because, like, that tomato complicated thing, but there was a world in which you hit the cannon, because cannon is the way that your opponent is killing you there. But I do understand not hitting it, because if they don't draw the level limit on the following turn, if they don't have the Reaper set, then you're in a very good spot. So I do think that was reasonable for Gerbil to do. They took a gamble, and unfortunately did not work out. And yeah, good stuff there. Let's dive into Dump Truck versus Helios Trident. It seems like Helios Trident has activated a Crush card here to deal with what Dump Truck's got. But there is a Treeborn Frog engraved, so that will be able to come back. Unfortunately, any Monarchs will not be able to come back with it, but Disc Commander will be safe from the Crush card, although honestly, Dump Truck probably wanted that Disc Commander engraved. They're going to bring back that Treeborn Frog in the standby phase. It seems like this is a mirror match of, like, Perfect Scroll Monarch, Hero Monarch, whatever you want to call it. It seems like it's a mirror of that, so I mean, this is one of the best decks in the format. It's also one of my favorite decks in the format. I think it's really, really cool, so I'm glad to see the mirror. And it seemed like Dump Truck took game 1 there. But Crow on the Mally at the cost of D-Draw, so that way they can't use the Mally there. I think that's a good play because, it doesn't get them a body on board, right? And if there's a Monarch in hand, you can't do anything with that. But Cyber Dragon is tribute fodder for a Monarch if they've got one. Warrior Lady will come down, though, so that will be able to deal with the Treeborn. And now Helio is in a very good spot, of course, depending on what that set is that Dump Truck has. But Helio does know their hand, so they probably know what that is, and is indeed the Disc Commander. And now Dump Truck's in a really bad spot. There isn't really much they can do here to get over that Sidra, and whatever card it was is, shown to Helio. It's just an MST. So now they can play around that MST. And they also know if there's a set here, it could just be a bluff. And it looks like it probably is a bluff. That Lost Guardian might be a Mally, honestly. Either way, Helio knows what it is. But for us who came in late, I feel like it probably is a Mally, because it's not a card that Dump Truck's committing to board here. And it could just be a spell trap. Maybe they didn't commit it last turn because they wanted the Treeborn Frog still live. And now they're only setting one to sort of give a bit of uncertainty as to which one it is. But I feel like it probably is a monster here. Yeah. It's a rough virus indeed. Rough virus. But that's how this goes sometimes. Virus is a card in the format. You got to sort of play around it or just deal with it. Not everyone's going to like that being in the format. I don't blame them for that. If you don't like virus in the format and it's enough to sort of ruin your appreciation of it, you don't have to play the format. But I do think, okay, so this is not a Mally in hand, because otherwise they would not have done that. It's an autonomous action unit. That is a very, very neat tech. This card can take a monster from your opponent's graveyard, special to your side of the field. That's kind of cool. But MST is the known last card, so just hitting a dead Dust Shoot that Helio set there. And yeah, Dump Truck's just going to scoop it up. I think there was still a bit of gas left in the tank there, or maybe not gas left in the tank, but, Dump Truck was not dead there. If Helio did not have an aggressive pressure, there was a way maybe for Dump Truck to sort of fight it out and take back the game, but it definitely would have been a major uphill battle there for sure. Anyways, this is game 2 of Aratos versus Dark Armed God here. It seems like Aratos is on a very interesting build of a sort of hero Monarch deck, playing Legendary Jiu-Jitsu Master, very good card in general, and one that has not really been experimented with as much in Trooper format, so very cool stuff. Clive, or Dark Armed God, depending on whether you know my Discord name or by Dueling Book name, is playing Winged Rhinos Control, and I will be testing out this deck on the channel in the very, very near future. I just had other decks I wanted to test first, but oh, were you dead, Dump Truck? Oh yeah, autonomous action unit on Disc Commander is so funny. Yeah, that is so funny. I mean, that is a good reason to play it. If you know you're in the mirror match, playing that card is very cool. But Snatch on the Rhinos, Phoenix Moonblast to pitch the Treeborn. I'm kind of curious why they didn't do that. Or was the Snatch already set? It might have been already set, but yeah, they're just going to tribute set over that Rhino, so that's probably a Mally there. I assume it's a Mally at least. Unless it's a Ryza that they don't want to stack the call with. That's an option as well. But Dust Shoot coming down here to spin something back into the deck. It's going to spin a Reaper back into the deck. And now the hand is known to Aratos here. So very cool stuff. Another synergy with Legendary Jiu-Jitsu Master is that it pairs very well with Mind Crush, because you know what card they're drawing next. So you can use it with that, which is pretty cool. Red Gator coming down, attacking into a Mally. I think in general, it's good not to attack into tribute sets in this format, just in case it is a Mally, which it very likely is. But in this case, it doesn't really matter too much. There's already one Mally in grave, so you don't need to worry about that. And so, they get a tribute fodder on field either way with the Treeborn Frog there. So I think it probably is fine. Jinzo's going to be killer in this matchup. But we'll have to see if Zerordo Dark Armed God is able to find a way to deal with that Jinzo. Yep, the Troop Dupe Scoop, as Bobby Barrow says. We haven't actually seen the Scoop part of that Troop Dupe combo there, but we did see the Troop Dupe last game with Clemens and Gerbil. But yeah, Ryza coming down, spinning back a card at the top, and this should be lethal damage here. So very intense end of the game. Yeah, brutal stuff for the Rhinos gadget list here. But that's how it goes sometimes. Again, I will be testing that deck out on the channel in the near future, so stay tuned for that. We got a lot more Trooper games coming. Let's see here. So it seems like that's the only game that's wrapped up so far. So let's just dive into another one. Let's dive into Jim Bob versus Gabibo Balandi here. Again, Mizzou Return versus Gadgets here. Two non-standard decks in the format, but they're putting up some fights against each other. It seems like T-Roars have been sided in against the Bazoo Return deck, which I think makes sense because, if they activate Return, T-Roar is a good way to really stop their aggressive push there. But 2 T-Roars have been used up so far, so unclear if they've got many more of them there. And it seems like Jim Bob has not used up any returns yet. And Gaby Volandi already down to 1,500 life points. That is a major, major loss of life points there. It just shows how aggressive this Bazoo deck can be in the early game, because it's still relatively early if you look at how many cards have been used up. Cyber Dragon coming down here, so this could potentially hit over the Assailant or just provide... oh, okay, never mind. Overload Fusion coming down. So we got Chimera Tech plays coming. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Matt Chimera Tech. If you want to go all in here, which you probably would because Overload is limited in this format, so not like you're going to get another option to do this. And it looks like they are going to go for a 6 Matt Chimera Tech here. That'll be 4,800 attack on the Chimera Tech. It will also pop their back row, which is a bit unfortunate here. But it will be able to hit over the Bazoo. And, you don't even have to attack into the Assailant there. Yep, so... that'll hit that, but limiter is getting chained. Oh, actually, hold up, that's 9,600 here. That's pretty good. 9,600 attacking into 2,500 is lethal if Jim Bob does not have a way to deal with this. So the question is, do they have a way to deal with it? If they don't, though, this is GG. Either way, it's GG, honestly. If they do have a way to deal with it, then Gaby Volani's probably dead here. If they don't, then they're dead here. So, wow, very intense stuff. Seems like they did not have a way to deal with it, and that will be the end of the game. So very intense stuff there. Overload coming in clutch at the end of the game for Clody there. Let's dive back into Gerbil versus Clemens here. Burn versus Machine OTK as well. Oh, speaking of Chimera Tech kills here, I mean, this will probably be the end of the game here, I assume. Let's see how many mats that is. I think it's enough mats. For 6,100, all you need is 8 mats on that Chimera Tech. And that is 8 exactly. So, yeah, that'll just be the end of the game. So, again, another Overload coming down, ending the game there. Important note, Overload is limited in this format. So, it's not like, the most common thing to see, but it is a good card in general. Karma Cut getting played in the Helios Strands deck. Very interesting innovation there. Most people play like Phoenix Wind Blast instead, or maybe even Raigeki Break, but Karma Cut is pretty good in this format. You hit things like Disc Commanders, you hit things like Treeborn Frogs. So, against a deck like Perfect Circle Monarch, it can be a very, very good inclusion. Snatch on the Trooper here. Trooper can then use its effect to mill 3. So this implies that there's no dupe coming down this turn, because generally you dupe before milling. So that way, if you have more troops left in the deck, you don't mill them out by accident. But this is also going to be pretty good, because if Dump Truck does get rid of that Trooper, they will not draw a card. But yeah, that's lethal there, because he was only at 500. There was a world in which they switched the Trooper to defense, but I think either way, they're probably dead here in the long run. So, yeah, rough stuff. But we're going to go on into the next match. What happened all the games? There they are. Right back up there. Yeah, let's dive into Gerbil versus Clemens. So it seems like all these games are wrapping up at relatively similar times here. And it seems like Dump Truck and Ratos are going to be paired there. And then Clody will face the winner of whoever wins Gerbil versus Clemens. Yeah, pretty good locals so far. And we're moving on at a brisk pace, Trooper locals go quick based on the last local stream. We had more players there. And, yeah, it's very cool. And Helios Strider says in the Discord chat that they think that they like this format less than Demise just because of Ryza. And that is a reason to separate Demise and Trooper format. Trooper format and Demise format are very similar in a lot of ways, but Ryza is a very, very powerful card and does up the power level of certain decks quite a bit. And so, some people will prefer playing Demise format where you don't have things like Trooper, or not Trooper, but Ryza in it. And some of you will prefer playing this format where you have additional jank strategies like Crystal Beast, for instance, and Winged Rhino's control. So, I mean, it just comes down to a matter of taste. So, I don't begrudge people for feeling one way or another, but I am glad that we sort of made Demise format a thing, because I think it is pretty cool to have those options there. But Jinzo coming down, and then a set back row for Gerbil. So that set might not be a trap, given that they did this, but it will shut off Clemens' traps here, so that's pretty nice. And Clemens is setting 2 more, setting a set monster and passing back. Probably a Morphing Jar, at least that's what's being implied here, but it could be potentially something else. We don't quite know at this point. Gerbil setting a card from hand to play around Morphing Jar, if it is indeed the Morphing Jar. But looks like they're going to attack into the Spy instead. Interesting stuff there. I figured they would have tacked in to the Morphing Jar. Zachary and Cheese, if to play the B side, you have to beat the A side. To play the B Sox, you have to beat the A Sox. I did beat A Sox, yeah. That was part of my origin story. You know, before I had the YouTube channel, I fought ASOX to the unalivement and you know, managed to wrest the title from them. So that's a pretty fun part of my origin. I haven't actually mentioned it on stream yet, but you know, that is indeed true. And we'll be getting back to playing some Celeste in the near future. Don't you worry. I'm going to be streaming on Sunday, and hopefully we can get some good Celeste in there. So, yeah. I don't necessarily think this format is... I mean, there is some element of sack in Trooper format, to be fair, like CS. Because CS is saying it's a sack format. The deck I got blown out of the water against Monarchs. But I also think Monarchs is just a good deck, right? I'm not sure, like, the way you got blown out is a sack, or if it's just because Monarchs is a very good deck, right? I do think Trooper format can have its sacks. I mean, we've seen a couple sacks over the course of these games here, right? Like, Overload Fusion is limited to 1 copy, so I think limit removal is also, that actually might not be limited, but it might be, I don't think, I know it's not semi-limited, but it might not be limited either. Either way, Overload is definitely a bit of a sacky card. Having the Troop and Dupe combo is a bit of a sack, too. There are some sacky cards in this format, like Crush Card, another sacky card as well. So there are some sacky elements here, but I don't think this format is anywhere near as sacky as some of the other formats that we covered on the channel. A lot of the DM era formats are a lot stackier than this one, for instance. The Stein formats can also be a lot stackier as well. So I'd say that you know, there's an element of sack here, but there's an element of sack in every format, and I don't think this is one of the worst ones. Zachary and Cheat asked, with all the Jinzo, Sidera, and Troopers, have we seen any players play System Down / Acid Rain? I think System Down has been experimented with in the past, especially in historical lists. I'm not the biggest fan of System Down, though. The nice thing about System Down is that you can clear all the Troopers after they've come out, right? And then it's like they don't get a draw from that. But also System Down costs 1,000 life points, and if your opponent did a Troop Dupe play on you, then you're already probably down low on life points. So can you afford to pay that 1,000 for System Down? I don't quite know. Also, I think that the Chimera Tech stuff is not the most common in this format. So I don't necessarily know if it's worth playing System Down in the main, at least, to deal with that. If you go into the siding and you've got it there, I think that's fine. But yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. It could be something to experiment with in the future, though, for sure. Rise is going to attack into the Sangan, which will, you know, be kind of awkward with that Reaper, but they will just add the Reaper to hand directly because, you know, it's the best card for them right now. So, yeah. Yeah, definitely keep adjusting the deck, CS. They said they'll probably change up the deck next time. And I think there is still room for improvement with it, you know. What I'm going to do for my video on it is probably just take basically the exact Edison list and then swap out the cards that are not legal in this format, like Dimpriz and things like that. And yeah, you know, I trust Zuxid's building on this, and, you know, even if it is a different format, I want to see how well it adapts to it. Oh, another Ryza as well coming down here, spinning back that card to the top, and then attacking in for 24 plus 24. If there is a limiter, this will be lethal damage here. And there is the limiter, so not really any way to deal with this in the damage step. And yeah, that will be a very, very intense one there. Seems like Burn not able to take the match, but still did manage to win game 1. So, you know, that is kind of what Burn can run into, where it can win game 1 relatively easily, but game 2 and 3 can be a bit harder when your opponent brings in more stuff to counter your deck. But if you're able to win one of game 2 and 3, it can be very good for you. So Burn, unfortunately, not doing the best here. And it seems like the 2 Machine OTK decks are going to be facing each other in the next round. It seems like 2 of the Monarch decks are also going to be facing each other. So very interesting stuff. As Zachary and Cheese says, Ryza is a house, just completely, you know, setting up a very unfortunate play pattern if you're able to set that up, right? Dracosac says, Ryza has to be the most painful Monarch. I'd rather Kaius banish my Sangan and deal 1,000. Yeah, honestly, after playing with Ryza a bit in this format, I can see why. Because Ryza is like, it comes down to like power versus toxicity, right? Which I've sort of said with like my hand rips versus dust shoot sort of complaint, where I'm a big believer that the hand rip spells like Comfy, Force Sentry, Duo and stuff, they are more powerful, but they're less toxic than Trap Dust Shoot, right? Because, you know, Trap Dust Shoot, it does get to see your entire hand. It can only spin back monsters and can only be used in certain very narrow situations. But seeing the entire hand really removes a lot of agency on the part of the opponent that it's activated against, right? So, damn, reconnecting. I hope that's a DB thing and not a me thing, or else the stream will get pretty awkward real quick. I'll just be talking to myself, I guess. But I think Ryza and Caius you can view in sort of a similar way. Some people would argue that Caius is more strong because, one, it banishes something away, so your opponent can't have access to it again on the following turn. It also deals 1,000 damage, so there are the instances where your opponent has less than 1,000 life, and you summon on a Caius and banish itself and kill them off that. But I think it's less of a straightforward argument whether Caius is stronger or not than Ryza, than, for instance, something like Dushoot and the Hand Rips. But there is that argument to be made there. But I think that no one can really argue that Ryza is definitely a more toxic card in general, because Ryza, it basically draw locks you for a turn. Your opponent knows what you're drawing next. You know what you're drawing next. And, rejected by server. Come on. Well, hopefully this is not a recurrent issue. I'll see if it's happening to everyone else. Hopefully it doesn't last too long. We'll try and reconnect. Okay, we're back in. We're back in it. Seems like DB was having some issues now. Seems like it's happening to Gerbil as well. So hopefully people can get back into the games that they were in if they're still going on. It seems like Dump Truck is back. Arato still has about 3 minutes to get in. Yeah. I'm just going to let people know that it's back up now for people. So hopefully everyone can get back up. But yeah, if you see rejected by server, it generally is just a sort of server issue, right? It's not that you're banned. Sometimes, I mean, I've never been banned, so I don't know what the message is. But in general, if you do get banned, I think they send you something. I think they, say you're getting banned or something, as opposed to just banning you outright. I could be wrong about that, but I think that is what happens. But I don't know. But yeah, let's see. Hopefully we can get this party started again. Get things back up and running. 200 seconds is a fairly long time. That's like 3 minutes. So I believe that Ratus will be able to get back in before the game completely times out. If not, I mean, it's still early in this game, so they can potentially redo it, right? But it'd be a bit unfortunate because Ratus is off to a very good start here. Comfy ripping a War Lady, giving full knowledge of the hand. Yeah, this is rough. They're back. Let's go. They are back. Better than ever. Okay. So they know the hand exactly, which is very good. It's why Comfy is so powerful. But Dump Truck will be going, having their turn soon, and they will be drawing one unknown card. So, oh wait, actually, it was their turn. Interesting. Okay, so it seems like they're having issues with passing back. It looks like they will indeed be able to pass back there to Aratos. And, I mean, if you're Aratos, you feel like that's a pretty good sign because their hand must be bricked on something, and you're going to get that bricked out of the hand for them. Ain't that so generous? That Reaper's going to attack in, hit for 300, and then rip a card out. Going for the roll here. I generally prefer just randomly picking a card because as opposed to just die rolling because it's a bit quicker. But hitting a Ryza there, I mean, Ryza is a good hit. They could potentially bring it back with something, but it's not the best thing to bring back because it doesn't get the effect. It's just a beat stick if you do that. Heavy Storm coming down for the back row. That's going to be pretty good there, hitting a Phoenix Wing and a pulling. And then Braincon on the Reaper to pop that. So Denmark's effectively dealing with the board here. And they've got a Rhoda to also search for a Stratos, probably, I'd assume. Yep, there's the Stratos, getting them an extra card here into a Mally. Not a Disc Commander, interestingly enough. They might have a way to pitch the Mally. I always find it risky to search the Mally first thing, because if you draw another Mally, it's so bad. Whereas if you, search out Disc Commander, and you, de-draw it away, get an engraved for future setup there, then if you draw the Mally, it's unfortunate, right? But that's your first copy of Mally. So, you've got a way to dump it to do other stuff, But I don't think this is the worst by any means. It's just, that misclick there is going to be quite unfortunate. Ringing the Mally ringing the Stratos, not the Mally. It's going to be, it's not necessarily something you want to do, but it's something that a raid just kind of has to do here. The reason why you don't necessarily want to do it here is that if Dumbstruck does have a pre-mat or a call, they can get the Stratus effect off again, which is going to be quite unfortunate. It seems like they had Phoenix with Windblast, which is why they went for the Mally play there. So they're going to banish that Mally, and they're going to get back a Mally in defense mode there, because it seems like Erasers did not have aggressive pressure based on what they did last turn. So you can feel comfortable doing this and, having it not get Ryza back. And it looks like they're going to tribute that Mally for a side right here, attacking in for 21. I wonder why they did not banish the other Mally to get out another one. This, to me, says that they might have Mally in hand, which is sort of just the very sad thing about searching out Mally for Stratus, because otherwise I feel like they definitely on this board would have gone for a Mally from deck here to get that extra 800 in. Maybe they're only playing 2 Mally, though. Maybe they're like 3 is too bricky. I just want to play 2. But I do really like the extension that a third Mally can give you. So, also drawing 2 Mallies in a deck with 3 Mallies is a lot less tilting than drawing 2 Mallies in a deck with 2 Mallies, Dupe coming down here, bringing out a bunch of troopers, milling 3 with 1 trooper. I do like this approach, just going 1 at a time, milling 3 with the next. And that did hit a Mally, which is why they are milling 1 at a time here, banishing that Mally for another Mally out of the deck. In attack mode here, they must have a way to deal with Sidra here, or else they wouldn't be doing this. They're going to mill 3 again, and now they're going to tribute that Hero Malicious for a Ryza, and yeah, that'll be lethal. Yeah, very intense stuff, and yeah, if they'd been able to get the, Mally out, then it would have been a much better spot, but fortunately they were not able to do that. I wonder, so I think the card they spun back was Call, right? I wonder if you call back Reaper as Chainlink 2 after they've activated Phoenix Wing, I think it'll still die, right? Because the Call will have targeted it on a field, even if the Call gets spun back. So I think it would still die, but I don't quite know. But yeah, I mean, fun drinking game. Take a shot every time you see Ryza win a game. Actually, don't do that. It might be very dangerous on this stream. But anyway, let's dive into the Machine ODK mirror. I think maybe calling it a mirror is a bit much, because I think both these decks are doing slightly different things, because Gabi Wulandi has got a gadget sort of engine going, whereas it doesn't seem like Gerbil has that. They've got a Hexield Fusion package going on, though, so that's very cool. So, they get to go into Cyber Twin or do things like that with the Cider there, so that's pretty cool. Seems like Gabi Wulandi also on a Banisher of the Radiant, which is a very interesting card in this format. It does deal with Troopers very well, so that's pretty cool. It seems like Gerbil just did not have the ways to deal with this green gadget here, which is kind of wild. But, sometimes the deck cannot get what it needs to actually deal with things like that. So the Mole coming down. Mole will at least, cost Gabi Wulandi their normal summon here, so they don't get a gadget search. And they're going to attack into this set card right here. That's going to get Mirror Force. Mirror Force gets good value on that Mole, I will say. So I like that Mirror from Gerbil there. And it's passed back to Gerbil here. What are those set monsters? Seems like one is a Light Hexield Fusion. And Gabi Wulandi thinking about that. They're thinking, do I TT here? Do I not? Do I Solemn this maybe even? Okay, they're reading. But yeah, if there's a Sidra in hand, then this is going to be pretty good for Gerbil here if Gabi Wulandi did not have a way to deal with that. Okay, looks like that's going to be fine on Gabi Wulandi's side of things. As an important note, I do not believe that, yeah, you cannot bring out Chimeritic Overdragon with this card, I believe, because Chimeritic Overdragon has to be properly fusion summoned, I believe. I could be wrong about that, actually. Maybe you can, but not that you'd want to, because it's a 2-mat. Actually, it might even be a 1-mat card here. But because Chimeritic Overdragon says, like, 800 attack times the number of machines used for it. So I'm not sure if Hexial Fusion will count for that, but there's going to be a lot of damage if it goes through. Ring on the twin there, but Solemn on the ring. That's going to be very, very good here for Gerbil, especially because that ring is now gone, so they don't need to worry about a ring finishing out the game for them here. And this is going to drop Kabibulani down to 800 life points here. They're in the danger zone, but if they do have a way to deal with the Cyber Twin and potentially get a gadget out, then they're probably feeling relatively good here. And that's what Gadgets kind of does. You know, Gadgets has 1-for-1 removal and the Gadgets. So if they've got the 1-for-1 removal for the Twin, then they're okay. But it seems like they don't have it. They're just going to special summon a Cyber Dragon in defense and then set one pass back. Seems like a bit of an unfortunate brick here because Gerbil probably will be able to win the game if they got any other monster in hand, which they probably do, given that they did not set a card here. Seems like Ratos is watching this game, so that implies that Ratos might have won the other game there. But I've not seen a report from Dumbtruck yet, so... Red Gadget's attack is 1,300. Yep, 1,300 attack, 1,500 defense. Yellow Gadget's attack is 1,200, 1,200 defense. And Green Gadget's attack is 1,400. And I believe that the defense of Green Gadget is 700. It might be 600. Let's check. 600. It was 600, so I was off. But anyways, yep, they're going to attack in for 12. And yeah, it's going to be the end of the game there. So Phoenix getting in for the lethal push. Very, very intense game. Saw him coming in clutch there, stopping that ring and getting in for a ton of damage. So yeah, it seems like Dumbtruck and Ratos' game is over. And let's check the challenge here. Yep, Ratos won against Dumbtruck there. So very cool stuff there. Siding is in progress. How do you side in the mirror? That's the question. I mean, it seems like they're both on slightly different techs here as well. You know, Clody's on the Banisher stuff. Gerbil's on the Hexial Fusion stuff. So it's a bit different, right? But, you know, you are facing against machines, and you probably have some things on the side for machines. Maybe you have the System Downs or Acid Rains, as Zacharoni and Cheese mentioned. Maybe you've got other stuff here. Who knows? We'll have to wait and find out. But I'm excited to find out with y'all here today. If you're watching the stream on Twitch, be sure to give a follow because we're trying to reach 50 followers there. So that way, you know, I can make it up to the next level of Twitch there. And if you're watching the stream on YouTube, please do subscribe. Either would help, and I'd appreciate it all, you know. We're just trying to grow the community even more to get more people playing in these events. And more people playing in these events, the longer the streams, the bigger the tournaments, the better we get to explore these metagames. So definitely do that if you're interested in that. And also, we've got a great community as well. Always, you know, very chill, very fun. And get to play a lot of fun games if you want to play these games for yourself. So definitely head over there to the Discord server if you're interested in that as well. And keep an eye out for future streams and future videos as well. Seems like Kabibulani is starting off with a green gadget to search out that red gadget there. And setting one, passing back. What's everyone's favorite gadget? I like red. I think red is neat. Like tucked in the side like that. He's a bit more defensive. But, you know, once you break through a shell, he's probably very fun to know, you know. Also, red has the highest, you know, combined stats there. So if you add the attack and defense, then you get up to 2,800 on red. Whereas with green, you only get to 2,000. With yellow, you get to 24. So, yeah, Inspector Gadget, as Model Zero says, we've got all of these gadgets. They're about to inspect that set card there and run into a Cyber Phoenix. So, it seems like Kabibulani is going to take 200 from that. And Cyber Phoenix can be a bit of a wall there. It also prevents targeting as well, which is going to be pretty good against these gadgets here, but only while it's an attack. So you've got to sort of reckon with that if you want to make a play against these gadgets here in a way that dodges around things like Saku, because this thing is going to be vulnerable to the red or the green if you leave it in attack. Arita says green or nothing. I also get the respect for green. You know, green is a powerful gadget, you know, is made up like almost entirely of the gear with his body. Red has it at its back. Yellow, I believe, has it like going like this, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. But green, it's all gear, baby. All gear. There's another green, another all gear in there. Searching out another red from the deck. And pass back. Yep, I mean, that's kind of what Gadgets does in this sort of situation. You can get the search, you get the search. Just keep getting the value. What do y'all think's a good side deck tech for Gadgets? I like pulling the rug, personally. I think pulling the rug's fun. I think the triple dust shoot, if it's not in the main deck, you can bring that in against Gadgets in the side. Because generally they will have a hand that is dust shootable. And well, you don't really care about sending back a gadget. Sometimes you do. What you really care about is getting the hand knowledge there. So, yeah. Green just asking for Tomato to attack into it, which definitely doesn't get the respect it deserves in this format, IMO. Jiu-Jitsu Master is very good at Ratos. Yeah, clog their hand with a million gadgets. Yeah, that is a big punish for the gadgets there. There is the Exiled Force, but TT coming down on that, so that'll blow up the entire board there and cost the normal summon. But, when you play gadgets, it's always good to keep in mind that what you really care about is the value. You don't care if your opponent kills your gadgets because you've gotten the value on it. They've replaced themselves, So realistically, this is kind of just it's almost I guess the Exile would also trading for the Cyberfiend. So it's kind of just a -1 for Gerbil here if you think about it that way. But you have to do it, Comfy coming down here, ripping a card out of the hand. And yeah, it's a lot of gadgets. I mean, we could kind of tell that from all the searches that Kibulani was getting here. But yeah, you probably don't want to hit a gadget out of that hand. But Gerbil's hoping to cut them off of their only monster. But we did know about a red and a yellow there, at least. So couldn't cut them off the gadgets. But Heavy Storm and all the gadgets in hand. Oh, that is rough. If you're the gadget player, you generally don't want to have all the gadgets in hand. You want to have some, sure. But if you have all the gadgets, then you don't get their value, right? So that's kind of rough. That's pretty fun, Model Zero. They say, I remember winning a regional with LJM in the main, Legendary Jiu-Jitsu Master in the main, during a toolbox format, peaked in high school. Yeah, I mean, that happens, especially with Yu-Gi-Oh!, I think, because the game in high school for us is very different from the game now. So it's a bit tough. If you've got the skills in high school, then potentially you can apply them to the modern as well. There are plenty of good duelists nowadays who, were very good duelists back in the day as well. But there are, certain skills that do not cross over as well. So, yeah, it's kind of rough. But yeah, killing off the Jets feels so bad, as Rekasek says. But at the end of the day, I think it was a valuable CT because they would have been taking a lot of damage there. Red coming down. And it seems like not using their effect. Oh, they are using the effect. Okay. So it seems like they still got 2 in the deck. So they're going to go for those 2 if they can. But yeah, red coming down, tagging in for 13 poke here. And while it may seem like Kibulani had a lot more cards in hand here than Gerbil, and thus is up on card advantage, I don't really think they're necessarily up on card advantage because a lot of those gadgets are still going to be, very dead very soon, right? Now, they have deck thinned a bit, so that is very good, but for some reason, they still have more cards left in their deck. So I think they were playing one of those gadget decks that has a bit of a thicker deck here. So let's see, 6 card engrave, 3 on field, so that's 9. 14 cards total, and then 31. So there's 45 card gadgets, which is sort of the 5th gadget sort of thing, where you make it so a 5th of your deck is gadgets. The reason behind that is that you draw 5 cards in your opener. So it's like, well, okay, if a 5th of your deck is gadgets, then you're more likely to just draw 1 gadget in the opener. I don't think the math necessarily checks out that way, but that's the sort of reasoning behind it. And I can understand why people use that reasoning, but again, I think it's kind of iffy. Malzer says, skip your own draw phase and call a judge 2 turns later. That's a skill I've seen deployed. Yeah, judge, my opponent, made me skip my draw phase. So I really hate people who scum with judges that way. Judges serve a very useful role, and by doing that, you're, one, distracting them from actually meaningful judge calls, and you're also trying to scum a win off your opponent that you do not deserve because you're not winning through the game itself. You're just winning through a judge being like, well, okay, there's a misplay or an error here, and it was not corrected, so yeah, game loss. But I don't think that they would actually give a game loss there, but no, red, run away from the light. No. Yeah, it is the light. And it ran into it. and took 300 for its troubles. Ryza coming down here, stacking one of the back row instead of the red. But I do think it was worth stacking in back row because you know that these back rows can deal with Ryza potentially, so you want to actually get them out of the picture, instead of actually stacking your red. Even if they can chain the back row, it is ultimately better to maintain the monster on field here, I think, than actually, just drawing them for a turn. That's my reading for this, though. You could also disagree, because you could also potentially say that if they're drawing a card, then that card potentially just replaces the card they lost, especially since they've got all the gadgets in rotation now, basically. But I do get the reasoning why Dribble did this, Yeah, now they get to keep their Ryza because they did not attack into a shrink. So, I mean, I guess there was also the world in which heavy here is going to be a bit scary. You don't necessarily want to see your opponent going for that on a board like this. And there's a limiter on those gadgets. So limiter buffing up one red gadget 26, the other red gadget 26. So that's 2,800 damage on board. Do you have the additional damage that you need here to kill? Probably not. But there are some ways to do it. Pre-mat on Sidra will do it. Yep, and there's the pre-mat. So that will indeed be the end of the game. So very intense stuff there. Maybe if Gerbil had spun back a gadget, they would not have drawn him to what they needed there to make that push. But I think it probably wouldn't have worked out in Dribbil's favor here either way. I mean, again, they could have potentially not attacked into the other gadget, but I mean, then it's like, why even spin back the gadget, right? Because you're still, wasting a turn basically. So I don't know, tricky stuff. Tricky stuff indeed. But Gerbil is done siding here. It'll be Wlandi currently in the siding process. And here we go. On to the all-important Game 3. Gerbil going first here. Drawing 5 fresh ones and then drawing a 6th because we are not in the modern day yet. And back in this day, these formats had first turn draw. So, oh, wow, that's a pretty good opener here. Yes, you cannot go super aggressive with these things, but it does thin out your deck a bit. And also, if those things go away, then you get a draw. So that is going to be very good overall. If Dribble wants to here, they can mill. I don't necessarily know if it's good, but they can do it if they want. I personally probably would not mill here. Okay, it looks like they are going to mill. This does get machines in graveyard potentially, but the risk here is that you mill the Overload Fusion. So that's a tricky thing. I don't necessarily know if you want to mill everything yet, but yeah, one machine engrave. Okay, that's a complete whiff of machines. Yeah. Rough stuff. And 1, 2, 3 more. Okay, no Overload Fusion milled, but that is a lot of very good cards milled. Oof. That is rough. I mean, you did mill 1 dead machine duplication, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, that's rough. The nice thing is that you'll be able to mill more on the next turn. But yeah, I mean, this is still a formidable board. Don't get me wrong, despite not milling any machines there. But red gadget coming down. Red gadget searching out a yellow if they want to use the effect. Okay, it seems like the red gadget will use the effect and that'll get met with a pulling. So that is a very good card against gadgets, in my opinion, for reasons you see here. Seems like Wlandi setting another, and passing back. But honestly, this is a very, very good setup for Gerbil. Even if they run into a Mirror Force here, they get 3 draws off that. So they're feeling perfectly fine. Sire Phoenix coming down as well. Will that get met with a TT? Again, if it's TT, you get 3 draws here, so you're fine with that. And this is not quite lethal on board. It's very, very close. It is 7,900. But I still think it is worth doing this. So, mill 3. Okay, that's 2 more machines engrave. Milling a limiter is a bit unfortunate as well. And no overload yet, so that's going to be pretty good there. No heavy used up either, so there could be a heavy in the future here. Hey, Eddie Miguel, I'm doing good. How about you? Having a fun Trooper Locals here. Pleasure having you in a video the other day. And connecting a commenter name to a Discord name is always fun. But yeah, I think you got to attack here. Like, if you don't attack here, I mean, it's like, I don't know. You got to bait out the Mirror Force eventually, right? And so I think it made sense to do that. And it's going to be a threatening roar. So it's a bit tricky for Gabiulandi, or not for Gabiulandi, but for Gerbil here, because they're running out of cards in deck to actually mill for the troopers, you know. So if there are more T-Roars in the future, that could be a bit awkward here. There's also another reason not to mill on turn 1, especially if you have a Pulling the Rug as backup here. Because then you have more charges later for, for attacking in, right? But it still might work out well for them here. I mean, no Overload used up yet. No Heavy used up either. Red Gadget going to attack into one of the troopers, and that's going to draw Gerbil a card here, drawing them down to 12. 12 versus 37. Wild stuff. Call the Hunt here to bring back another red, and that's going to get another search there as well if they so wish, and they do so wish here. So they're going to go for another yellow, get more gadgets for the follow-up, but this will also be able to clear another trooper, which is going to be pretty good, and deprive Gerbil from a bit of OTK potential there. But again, you know, they're drawing deeper into the Overload, which is going to be pretty good, but Comfy can potentially rip that Overload out of the hand if they have it. So that'll probably be the rip for sure. But yeah, I mean, they might have had it since the beginning as well, because they were very fine milling here and just getting machines engraved potentially. But the fact that Gabiulani just didn't immediately go like, yeah, get rid of the Overload, means that they might not actually have it in hand, which means there's one of the 11 cards left in deck if they did not side it out, which I feel like they wouldn't have sided out because it's a very good card in this matchup. Difficult pick, says Gabiulani, so that implies that this might be a bit of a tough one for them. And Gerbil might have a pretty good follow-up turn here. Oh, yeah, Treeborn Frog is a good pick here, Gabiulani. That is a great card to send from hand. I also recommend that. It clogs up one of their monster zones if they bring it back on the next turn. It's only 100 attack. So, you know, I think that makes sense, yeah. Yeah, I like that pick, yeah. But, I mean, in actuality, you know, Treeborn Frog is probably not the pick here. But, it's funny to think about, funny to joke about. Interesting. They're going to send the side right here. Definitely an interesting pick. I wonder why you'd do that. Maybe because now they've got Mirror Force. That could be why. Because then Cyber Dragon's follow-up play, right? So that is an option. Passing back. And we'll have to see what Gerbil has here. Yep, switching the Phoenix to defense. And switching the Trooper to defense as well. Setting another card here and passing back. Very interesting stuff there. Yeah, I mean, they are running very low on cards in deck. So I don't hate not running the Trooper into a gadget. We'll have to see exactly what happens here, because now the gadget deck can bring out a yellow, get a green. So yeah, the yellow also has it at its back. And in another area as well. Looping from the head down to, the bottom. So, yeah, you could argue that Yellow Gadget embodies the gears more than Green Gadget does, because Green Gadget, I guess it got it on the shoulders, right, going forward, but the Yellow had it, like, full back, full back as well, like on the back of itself. So, but yeah, attacking in to the Trooper there, drawing Gerbil a card, and then attacking into that set, which is probably the Treeborn. Oh, to Sangan. Okay, that will also be pretty decent here. Searching out a card from deck if they still have one in deck. They're going to search out the Light Hex-Sealed Fusion. So maybe that's why Gabiulani took the Cyber Dragon to prevent a Cyber Twin from coming down. But another back row does not bode well. Of course, Heavy Storm is going to be a pretty good card if Gerbil does have it here. But that is an if. I mean, 7 cards left in deck. No Heavy been used up yet. No Heavy milled. So it will be coming down eventually. The question is, when does it come down? Because if you wait too long, because you're like, oh, I'll draw the heavy eventually, then you could get blown up by T-Roar, because T-Roar just, stalls for a turn, and then, you can't attack in enough to actually kill. Knock, very interesting inclusion here, hitting the Frog. But Frog was not probably going to get much use, given the 2 back row there. So very good bait out from Gerbil there. Yeah, just passing back. I don't hate it. I do not hate that. Let's see what Gerbil does. Very intense game, by the way. It's very interesting. I wonder why Gaviolani did not summon the green. Send another passing back. It's just a very tricky spot for Gerbil to be in. They need the heavy, they need the overload. They're trying to draw into that eventually, but will they be able to do it is the question. Gaviolani checking that opponent's graveyard there. Seeing how many machines are in that. Let's count for ourselves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total. So that's going to be a big Chimera Tech if that is the case. So Gaviolani thinking here, probably got a limiter, and they are going to go for the limiter indeed. So that means that the first side of things will not draw a card. The second will. Because the second will have been face up. Nope, the first one does not. Because it was attacked while set. So yeah. It's just the way the erratas worked at this time. Yeah. But the second one, you draw. So yeah. Yep, and that will attack over that Phoenix. And that will draw because that was face up when it was attacked into. So an important but subtle errata change that you need to know about in formats like these. I don't know why they eventually changed it, but Mirror Force there, yeah. Yeah, that's rough. I think that ultimately here, this was a bit of a misplay based on like thinking that they'd get the draw off the 1 Phoenix. But yeah, that is pretty rough. So green coming down, getting a search here, and that will indeed get that search. So this explains why they did not commit the green earlier, because they had the limiter that they didn't want us to necessarily lose the green to. I think, honestly, you've got a red as follow-up in hand. Like, whenever you summon a Gator, you get another as follow-up, so you don't really need to care about that. That's just my reasoning on it, but what will Gerbil do? Tributing that Phoenix for a Jinzo. Jinzo is going to be very good here, potentially. Jinzo attacking in to the green. Now, there could be a Shrink in the running here to stop that Jinzo, but if it's Shrink, they can attack over the Jinzo anyways, so it's like, it is what it is. You're dealing with a back row at least. Asking about damage step. There's the Shrink. So, yeah, he had something, unfortunately. That's going to be 200 damage into that Jinzo there. And this will be a pass back. Oh, no, it will not. It will be a Cyber Dragon coming out. And now a pass back. I think, honestly, you could maybe save the Cyber Dragon because they lost their limiter, so you don't really need to worry about that as much. Whereas if they got, like, Smashing or something here, they use that up, and that's annoying for you. But I think it's probably fine. There goes the yellow. Yellow searches the green. That will indeed go through there. Yeah, it's a tricky mirror for sure. Yep, there's a green. Smashing on the Cider will go through. This call should also be in the grave. Yep, okay, they realized that there. Okay, that would attach to the red. So, yeah. Could come up in the case of, like, Tornado or something like that. But, yeah, this is why, like, I think it would have been better just to bring out Cider on the following turn. Because, like, you're going to take some damage either way here. But at least Cider can, like, clear a monster in the battle phase, at least, But we'll have to see what Gerbil does here. They still have plenty of life. So they're still not a bad spot. Curious about what the set is here. Coffee coming down. So they have to have something to deal with these gadgets because otherwise it's lethal damage. So seems like green, green, red. Classic gadget hand. Probably just how many reds? I mean, red can actually still search. So I feel like you take the red. But it looks like they're going to take a green here. And I don't think it matters that much in this situation, but you generally want to take the thing that can't search. So, but Dribble going to set one pass back. 4 cards left in deck. Might go to deck out. Or it could just end in a major damage push from Gerbil. Could end in a damage push from Clody. A lot of different options here for how this game will end. But, yep, there's the red. And red gonna get that search if it goes through. No effect. Okay, that means they might have drawn the yellow, or they're only playing 2 yellows total in the deck. So, running into a Hex Sealed here. So they're taking 400 from that. I don't know why they didn't attack in with the green here, because this is still lethal with yellow and red. So, yeah, I don't know. I think will that 200 damage matter? Probably not, but maybe. You never know. And it looks like Gerbil just passing back. Scary spot to be in if there's another smashing here. Or a tribute summon of a Sidra. That is also a scary spot to be in for sure. And there's the TT. I think Gibulani was waiting for that TT because that also was not engraved. And when you get down to this low amount of cards, you can sort of predict what your opponent's going to have. Gerbil said, I just need the one of. And yep, that is very true here. I mean, yeah, it's just rough. It is very rough. 2 cards left in deck. If there's a threatening Roarback there on that last turn, that is deck out. So, that's rough. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how this game will end. It really depends on the last couple draws. The Gerbil's kind of got just one path to victory, and that's big Chimera to go to TK. But if Clody can keep them off it, then, they get to preserve their own victory. How many Solemns have been used up? 3 Solemns are gone. Gerbil says, pretty sure I live unless you set premature as a bluff. I do think that is the case. So yeah, I think that passing on this is perfectly fine. It depends on the hand, of course, but I do think that this is fine. I don't think they would have set pre-mat as a bluff because they already had 1 card as a bluff. So you don't really need to worry about that. MST is gone, so you don't need to worry about that. Future Fusion is going to be kind of wild here. I mean, I feel like you probably send double Sidra. Yep, there's the Cyber Twin. And you got 2 Sidras left in deck, so you send those. And, I mean, doesn't really matter here. Because in 2 turns, you just pass back your opponent, win by deck out that way. But this does deck thin for you, so that's kind of nice as well. But green coming down. Green attacking in for 14. Is there a ring as well? No ring set. Let's see. Was that what they needed? Heavy Storm coming down there. Is there a T-Roar in the back row? Looks like no T-Roar in the back row. Hidden a Widespread, a TT as well. Pre-mat here. Okay, pre-mat's going to be pretty good. Pre-mat can bring back probably Jinzo is what you want to bring back. Yep, there's the Jinzo. And now attacking in for 1,000. So, if there's an Overload Fusion, that's going to be pretty good here. But the issue is if Gibulani draws into a back row, that's going to be kind of rough. So, it really depends on what is drawn here. Setting 1, passing back is about as intense as it gets. You need to go for Overload now in order to win the game. But if that back row is anything, then you lose the game. So, I think you don't banish the Jinzo here. Honestly, the Jinjo will be popped either way. but there are some worlds where keeping the Jinzo on field is good. Like, for instance, in a world with TT. Well, actually, TT's gone, but like Bottomless or something like that. You don't want the Jinzo gone because Jinzo can stop the Bottomless from activating, right? Jinzo will be destroyed after that, so you still lose to something like Sakuretsu Armor or something like that. No, don't banish the Jinzo. Damn. And we'll have to see if that actually matters. But there's the Chimera Tech. And is that going to be a Bottomless or something? There's 13 cards banished, so that's 13 times 8. So that is a ton of damage. But Shrink would still save you here, you know? So it's like, yeah, and there's the widespread. Yep, that's how it goes sometimes. Last card in deck was the Overload. That is so unfortunate for Gerbil. And that will indeed be the end of the game here. Wow, what an intense one. See, Bottomless was next. So, you know, again, I think that it would have made sense to keep the Jindo on field there just in case it was Bottomless. But yeah, Razor says, least lucky day for Clody. Listen, Clody's got some luck in them, you know. It does happen sometimes. But again, as I mentioned, I mean, I guess they didn't have any yellows, so sending the green didn't matter. But there were potentially some things that Gerbil could have done here. For instance, not milling first turn for Trooper. I think that would have been a good one. But Overdragon would have killed Jinzo, but they wouldn't have been able to use Bottomless on the activation. Or on the summon, that is, right? Because Overdragon gets summoned, pops your board, right? And then after that, it's like they can't activate Bottomless because Jinzo was on the field when it was summoned. So, I mean, it didn't matter there, like, because it was widespread ultimately. But if they had drawn Bottomless instead, then it could have come up. But either way, it was definitely down to a tough one. So Shrink halves, I believe, the original attack. I mean, we can check Shrink real quick over on the deck constructor here. So let's pull up Shrink. So Shrink says target one face-up monster on the field. Its original attack becomes half this turn. If we go to Chimera Tech, I'm pretty sure it says its original attack is set to, yeah, the original attack and defense of this card became equal to the number of fusion materials times 800. So, oh, that's just fusion materials. So I guess the light axial fusion would count for that. But so I believe it will still have a fair amount of attack. It won't go to 0. But I could be wrong about that. I'm not a judge, so I don't quite know there. But I do believe that that is how it works. Okay, it seems like we got a quick bathroom break before the finals match starts. So I'll use that time to set up a poll real quick on the YouTube side of things. I still need to figure out how to set up polls on Twitch. That's something I need to write down for myself in the future. But I'm going to ask who will win. And I'm going to ask between Aratos or Clody. Clody is could be Blondie, by the way. But yeah, I'll start that poll, see what people think, and that'll sort of fill some of the time before we actually get into the game itself. Seems like the game is starting here, though. There it is. Aratos versus could be Blondie. Who will be going first? We'll have to find out. It's like Aratos won the RPS, and we're going on to the game here. Now, something interesting about dueling on Dueling Book compared to in person is opening with coffee is about as good as it gets. That's really good. One thing interesting about dueling on Dueling Book that a lot of people complain about is the sort of determining who goes first, right? Because rock, paper, scissors, shoot is not quite as random as just rolling 2 dice and seeing whichever the high roll is. So, you know, there are a lot of complaints about that. And I don't think that those complaints are invalid, right? I think that those are reasonable complaints. But I do think also there's an interesting factor to keep in mind that I think a lot of people would tilt a lot harder if it was just completely random, right? If the game was just like, you know, doing a random die roll and it's like, oh, this person goes first, this person doesn't. And the reason why I say that is because people already get really tilted at the DB shuffler and saying it's not random. So I feel like people would say, you know, the DB going first or second thing is not random either. Now, at a counterpoint to that, Master Duel does exist, and Master Duel does have a random sort of selection, right? It flips a coin in client, so, you know, you don't have control over that, and I don't really see people complaining about Master Duel's sort of algorithm to see who goes first or second, right? So maybe DB could sort of adopt a thing like that to sort of see who goes first. But I definitely see why they have not so far. But let me know what you think about that. I don't know. It's still something that I'm open to hearing both sides about. Like I think that there is a valid argument for either way. But yeah, it seems like Comfy coming down on for Gubu Volani's side of things as well. And that's going to be a side direct coming down here to hit over that Stratos. So quite unfortunate for Aratos here. I feel like they probably would have been they probably would have confied away the Sidra if Gibi Balani had it, but this makes me think that they did not have it, and that was the draw for turn. I could be wrong about that, though, because they could have had the Comfy, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's very interesting. I feel like you probably would have taken the Sidra, because it does deal with the Stratos, and maybe you're just like, well, Comfy, I can play around Comfy a bit, but I don't know. Attacking over the disc, so that's engraved now, so Ratos can potentially use it to draw 2 cards here. So we'll have to see if they are able to do that or not. Looks like they're just going to set 1, pass back. It's going to be quite unfortunate here for them, because Gibulani can potentially just pressure through and kill here. Green coming down. That was searched off the yellow. And will this... Yep, they will use the effect. There is a reason potentially not to use the effect, because this is lethal on board, if you don't search. And... yeah, second card might be pulling the rug, which would stop the green. But Raiders thinking on this. I mean, this is lethal, so they got to do something here. And the thing that you do probably should hit the Cyber Dragon. They're thinking maybe a call. And so you're thinking like, okay, what do I call back? Because let's see, 26 plus 21 is 47. So you could potentially call back the Disc Commander and still live. It is very risky, but you would still live. They're going to take that 14. They're going to take the 12. And now that Sidra is attacking in here. And Phoenix Wing is going to be used on the Sidra. Okay, so they're thinking about exactly what the Phoenix Wing, I guess. Yep, and that'll spin back to the top. Sidra a bit less useful here. Now that they've got a bunch of cards on field. But you can still tribute some of that out if you want to. I assume a Mally is going to come out, right? I mean, that makes sense to me. Yep, there goes the Mally banished there. And then potentially Mally in defense. Yep, there's the Mally in defense. And you still have a Metamorphosis. You also have a Dasher that you can summon out. There is a world in which you tribute over the Mally for a Dasher, and then Mally out another Mally, meta that away into a level 6, and then attack in over some of these things. But there are some downsides to that. One, your opponent's drawing into a Sidra on the following turn. So you know that they can special summon that out, hit over your Dasher or your Senshi or something like that if you go into that. And it looks like they are going to go for meta on the Mally into a maybe Senshi, maybe something else. I think there is a very plausible world here where the move here is actually not to attack over both these cards, but just to attack over one of them, force Gibi Bolandi to tribute out the Cyber Dragon manually, and attack over the Senshi, and then like you can next turn summon a Disc Commander, tribute that for Dasher, and then get over the Sidra that way. That is definitely a possible world. Saku getting flipped up here, which will force Aratos to pay that 1,000 if they want to stop that. But that honestly is probably a good trade for you, Blondie, because they are up in life points here. Let's see, right now, the current votes, we've got 2 votes for Clody here. So people are big Clody believers, but I saw when those votes were tallied, they were voted for like while this game was well underway. So, it seems like people are jumping on the sort of bandwagon there, upon seeing some of the writing on the wall. But I think this game's definitely not over yet. I honestly, yep, and seems like Rage is going to do that. They're going to set 1 pass. Oh, so a disc is already in. Oh, that was hacked over earlier. Okay, I see. I misread that. But either way, if you draw into a monster, you tribute for Dasher and then attack over the Sidra. And that's not bad. The issue is if they've got another gadget, then they attack over the Dasher. But it probably is a trade worth making. But anyways, Cyber Dragon coming down, and that's going to try attacking over, or attacking into the Dasher. Okay, that is interesting here. Maybe they got another Sidra in hand. Yeah, there's the damage step. So they got Limiter, I guess. Yeah, that is rough. Limiter or Shrink, maybe. Shrink would that be lethal? Wouldn't quite be lethal, but it would effectively be lethal. Got 50 life points left at that point. And so, yeah. Yep, that will indeed be the end of the game there. But, yeah, either way. Yeah, because if it was shrink, you can't use it on Senshi. So we don't know if it's shrink or limiter there. But Dribble says, Dasher, I hardly know her. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. That's a good one. That's I hardly know her. I've never heard a joke like that before. That's wild. Oh, hardly know her. Oh, that's good. That's a good one. I do like that. Yeah. Hardly know her. Woo! We got the jokes up here. Oh, that's good. Oh. I came up with another one. This commander hardly know her. Huh? Huh? No. It's not as funny when I do it. But yeah. That is a good joke. I don't want to discourage people from making jokes. I had to like riffing. I had empty space to fill up, so I had to fill it with something. So I figured an overly long laugh is as good as anything to fill it up with. So keep the jokes coming. I need stuff. I need stuff to respond to. You know, I need beyond the duel. Now the duel's happening, I can respond in this, luckily. But Cider coming down here. The special attacking over the set monster potentially. Banisher coming down as well. Banisher is going to be a bit annoying for Ratos if that's like a disc commander or something here. And will it be that? It is going to be a Jujitsu Master, so that will send the Cyber Dragon back to the top of the deck. Not the best Jujitsu Master send there, but it does draw lock Gibi Balani for a turn. And now the Banisher is going to attack in for 16. So, Gibi Balani setting 2, passing back. On to see if Ratos is able to deal with this, especially knowing a Cyber Dragon coming next turn. Snatch on the Banisher. Okay, so maybe they've got a Ryza here. Ryza would be pretty good because you tribute that for Ryza, spin back another card to the top of their deck, and then they're not drawing in to the Cyber Dragon here. But it looks like they're just going to attack in for 16 with that Banisher. And they're going to indeed tribute that off for a Ryza. Okay, so they didn't want to summon out the Ryza initially. I think that makes sense. Because if it was like MST or Dust, they would have used that before. So you don't necessarily need to skimp on any damage that would come down here, especially because it's only 800 difference in damage, you know. And if there is a Saku or something back there, then Cyber Dragon's turned off, and also, you know, you still have Ryza in hand for later. But Green Gadget coming down here, so that will mean that Cyber Dragon is not going to be... Oh, okay, never mind. Cyber Dragon will be the next card drawn. Pulling the Rug will come through. And Pulling the Rug, very powerful card, especially against gadgets. And now you don't really have a reason not to attack in with your Ryza because that Cyber Dragon, you know, won't be able to come down if the Ryza is not on field. Only one card left in hand. That could be a gadget as well. We'll just have to find out. What will Aratus' plan be? Seems like they got a couple options. Seems like they're going to go for meta for a Senshi here, maybe. I don't think Senshi is the right choice because if you Senshi here, then the Cyber Dragon can hit over it, and you know the Cyber Dragon's coming. But this means that they probably have protection for the to deal with Cyber Dragon. So it seems like they're also getting in for over half of... Oh, actually, wow. Okay, never mind. They're just going all in. This actually does make a lot of sense. It's 44 plus 15. That's going to be 5,900 total, shutting off Gibi Balani from a lot of key life point thresholds. So that's going to be pretty good. Gerbil says, playing the Rug scares me off of playing gadgets. TBH sounds frightening to only open one gadget, run into Rug, and then die. That is very fair. I will say that a lot of decks do die to pulling, though. Like, for instance, Demise OTK also has major pulling the Rug problems. And, I mean, I don't necessarily see many people playing Demise OTK in Trooper format. I saw many people playing that in Demise format, but I think the issues sort of carry over there as well. So I think if you're comfortable playing Demise ODK in Demise format, you know, gadgets could also be fine. And gadgets do generally play a bit more defense than Demise ODK does as well. But that's for my reasoning for it. But, I mean, it comes down to just different decks having different outs, right? Like, that's something that is just the trend throughout all of Yu-Gi-Oh's history, right? There are certain decks that are very good game one, but there are silver bullets for them. And once the silver bullets come in, it can make things very awkward here. So it seems like Oh, okay. So this will get back a green. I'm trying to figure. Okay, because this gets a card in hand then for the Snipe Hunter. So you're trying to snipe the Ryza, attack over the Sentry with the Sidra, probably crash the snipe into the Warrior Lady, and then attack in with green. This makes sense to me. I mean, this is probably the only play that they've got here. So they're going to go for it. Targeting that Ryza. And let's see if this will go through. It will not. Okay, that's the end of the game, probably. I mean, it's not quite the end of the game because you still probably attack in with the Sidra into the Sentry, and then you probably crash the snipe into the Warrior Lady. That's what I would do if I were Gabi Bellani here, and it looks like they are indeed going to do that. And yeah, that will go through. Because now you can activate traps, so there is that, but definitely a less good board than, if the snipe had gone through. But interesting choice for Aratos here. Do attack into the green, potentially running into a trap. Trooper coming down, so unless they've got double Mally. At least you can still banish one and get out another Mally, but never what you want to see there, But either way, they've got to have Mirror Force here exactly in order to survive this turn. Saku will stop one of them, but unfortunately, the Trooper will still be able to attack into that green. And that'll be the end of game 2. Very intense game. So we're going on to the game number 3, and we'll have to see who wins. It seems like now there's only 2 votes for Clody, 1 vote for Ratos. So, yeah, people are shifting back and forth based on that second game there, based on the discussion of gadgets being a bit worse after siding. But again, I think it could go either way. That was still a pretty close game, all things considered. For instance, imagine if the Snipe Hunter had hit the Ryza, then that would have been a very, very different situation because then the Saku would have hit the Trooper, and you'd still have the Cyber Dragon and the green on field. So that would have been a bit awkward for Ratos. Now, of course, the Mally could come out in defense mode to protect a little bit there. They probably would do that, and they do have a fair amount of good draws, and Gabi Bellani still is at 500 life points, which is a very low amount. But I do think it is important to note that, it was not a blowout game by any means, despite the pulling getting activated there. So, and also keep in mind that Gabi Bellani could bring in pullings of their own. We don't know if they're going to be doing that or not, but that would stop Ryzas in a very, very good way. But yeah, final game, as Gerbil says, and I'm excited to see who wins this one. Very, very intense stuff between 2 locals legends, iconic locals players. If we go back into the locals leaderboard, then we can see that. What's the appeal of Jiu-Jitsu Master BTW? Asked Gerbil. I think the main appeal is because if they attack into it with a gadget, that gadget gets stacked back on top of the deck. So they're drawing a card that can give them a little bit more value potentially, but it also is kind of a dead draw because you already have another gadget in hand from the first gadget search. So you don't need another searcher in hand. What you need is ways to protect, right? So I think that's the main appeal of Jiu-Jitsu Master. And also in the gadget deck, really the only thing that gets over Jiu-Jitsu Master is a Cyber Dragon. So that can make it a bit tricky for you there. But we go into the locals leaderboard, we see that Clody has won 4 times and Erasus has won 7 times. So both these players have won a lot of these locals games in the past. And so we'll have to see what people do. Hoy asked in the Discord, any interesting brews this time? I wasn't able to participate. I think there have been some interesting stuff, although, I guess they're in the Discord, so they might not be watching this. But I think Gerbil's list was interesting with the Light X Sealed Fusion. I think that's a very cool innovation there for that deck. And that deck, almost made it to the finals here. I'd say that there was just some bit of bad luck at the end there with some of the draws. But that was an interesting list. Clemens brought Burn, which is very interesting to see. Not many people have been bringing Burn as much. That's kind of cool. Jim Bob bought Bazoo Return, which is cool as well. If you want to see an example of Bazoo Return in action, you can check out my video with Six Sams that featured in that. So there's been a couple interesting brews here, and it makes me very excited to see what people will bring on the big tournament on Sunday. Damn. Not opening challenge. I can't speak right now. Not opening compy challenge impossible for these players because they are just opening this thing up left and right over the course of these games. I don't think there's been one game here that compy has not been opened up. So very intense stuff there. Seems like Outrageous has a Mally, a Heavy, a Dasher, and a Phoenix Wing Limblast. That is a pretty good hand to have because Phoenix Wing Pitch Mally is going to be very strong. So we'll have to see what exactly they do here because there is a world in which you just heavy the board now and then set Phoenix Wing because you don't necessarily want to Didn't necessarily want to get the Phoenix Wing sniped because you want the Mally engraved to set up the Mallies that are coming out of the deck. But I don't know. It's a tricky choice here for sure. And Aratus will be thinking about it. Looks like they're just going to set 2. Okay, pass back. So one of those probably Phoenix Wing, one of those probably heavy, unless there was another back row drawn. Mind Crush. Whoa, wowza. Yeah, green getting called, so that's going to send 1 green there. And potentially cut off the Gadget engine there. Utilani asked, do I need to show? I believe you do not need to show here because the card was sent. So, and we've got replays online in online play. So in-person play might be different. But in online play, generally in these tournaments, we do follow what goatformat.com does for their GOAT tournaments in online play, where you don't need to reveal off of something like Mind Crush. If we watch back the replay and Gublani did have more greens in hand, then, you know, we can just call them a dirty, dirty cheater. But they're going to spin back that red there, pitching the Mally. And now that Mally will be able to banish itself out from the graveyard and potentially be tribute fodder for a Dasher, which is also pretty good to have in graveyard. Heavy Storm coming on the back row now, and that will indeed hit a bottomless there. So pretty good to get that out of the picture because you want the Mally, or no, not the Mally, you want the Dasher to go to grave if it's, you know, sent to the graveyard. So there is the Mally coming down. Premat, oh, okay. Premat for the Trooper is going to be very good here. I feel like now you tribute for Dasher. Okay, just going for Troop. Not terrible, I guess. I don't know. I personally would have gone Dash. I would have Dash tributed over Mally, then Mally banished for another Mally. Because I feel like it's a bit risky milling with the third Mally in deck, you know. That's just me, though. And I don't hate this play, because it does keep a card in hand, so if you draw Phoenix Wing off the top, then you're feeling good about that, but you get the draw of Trooper anyways. So I don't necessarily think you need to do all this. What I do think is good now, I think it's just, I think the move is you tribute over the Mally for Dasher, bring in another Mally, and attack over the yellow with the card Trooper, attack in directly with the Mally. And you don't even have to attack in with the Dasher if you don't want to. You can just leave it there at 2100 body, you know. G-Lam said, if you can resolve a legendary Jiu-Jitsu Master and follow up with the Rise, I'm pretty sure you win. And that's what happened in the second game here, where Ratos did exactly that. So, yeah, very, very powerful stuff if you can actually set it up. And Ratos did manage to set it up last game. This game, a bit lower resources, but maybe we'll be able to see it get set up again. Looks like they're not going to go for the tribute over Mally for Dasher here. I think that's also a respectable play. If you draw into D-Draw, then D-Draw is still alive. So that is an option there. Okay, looks like they're going to go for tribute now. That's also fine. Effectively the same sort of thing. I maybe would have banished a Mally from grave just to get it out on field. If they do red attacking the Mally, I think they're attacking in to a less valuable card on field, because I feel like you want to attack into Trooper to get that off field. But yeah, I think that's also fine. And the risk of drawing into the third Mally in deck is pretty low, all things considered, even if this is 2 draws from the Trooper. So I think that's pretty fine. I'm just a very scared player. You know, whenever I've got a third Mally in deck and I can get it out of the deck, I will do it because I'm like, I don't want to get burned by drawing this third Mally. There's the draw off Trooper. And Gibulani will set 1, pass back. Okay. And we'll have to see if it was the Mally. Not that they'll necessarily bring out the Mally right now, but Rhoda here. Rhoda for Stratos is going to be pretty good here. There goes the Strat Master. Stratos coming down, getting a search here. That's going to get pulling, though. So, you know, pretty good pulling there on that Stratos. Still one unknown card in hand. Looks like now they might go for the Mally here. Oh, it's unclear exactly what they're going to do. Just passing back, I think that does make sense. Yeah. But the longer with that Mally engraved, the more likely it is to draw it. So that's the tricky thing. DD Warley coming down to attack into that Dasher. Give you one, he does take 600 from that, and they don't get a search, but this does banish the Dasher, clearing that problematic threat from the field. Now yellow attacking him for 12 is going to drop Ratos down to half their life points, but the life points are still pretty much equal. It's just Ratos is very down bad on resources. Setting one, passing back, so it seems like they don't have... They might have drawn the third Mally, honestly. They might have drawn the third Mally, which would be very unfortunate here, but it might have happened. Green coming down, that'll declare its effect, and that will be fine here. So, Kiwi Blondie attacking in for 2,600. There is a world in which you Mirror Force this in case they've got Limiter, if you've got Mirror Force, that is. And 1,200 plus 14, that will get rung here. But if Limiter's chained to that, then you're just dead. But it looks like no Limiter for Kiwi Blondie. And that will be the turn. Will Ratos be able to come back from this? That's the question. So they're going to set one and pass back. That set could be something to wall up a bit. Something Legendary Jiu-Jitsu Master would be pretty good here. Banisher coming down. Going to attack into the set with the yellow here. And that will be the end of the game. So that is going to be the end of the game. I just want to view the replay real quick to see if they did indeed draw that third Mally. Because that is sort of what I was thinking they might have drawn here based on their plays in the last couple turns. But I just want to check if that was the case. But brutal if they did draw it. It's just, I mean, this whole game was a bit brutal for them. The Comfy very early on was rough. Yeah, just rough stuff in general, I think, here. Mind Crush plus Phoenix Wing is pretty good, but they did have another gadget, so they're able to summon out the red. And now they're able to attack in for 25 here. Yeah, it's just kind of rough. But yeah, they do get the Mally in rotation here. Go for the heavy banish for Mally. Pre-map back the Trooper. There is also a world in which you don't pre-map back the Trooper. I think it's probably fine, though. But yeah, they're going to yellow, go for green, and then attack over the Trooper. And, okay, draw into Rhoda. So they did not draw into the third Mally. They probably would have liked to draw into the third Mally with that D-draw there. So, yeah, they didn't bring out a Mally for defense either. So, I'm just miscounting the Mallies. That could also be a possibility. But ring set there. 1,200 tagging in, 1,400 tagging in here. But ring will get used on that. So let's see what the last card is. It's a Treeborn. So, yeah, I mean, your reason for not going for Mally here is that you still live as long as they don't have like a green or something with over green's attack, right? So even if you're down low, you still live. So that's why you don't go for Mally, because then if the Mally is a live draw here off Destiny draw, then that's pretty good. So I do understand why they went for this. Unfortunately, it did backfire for them because the Banisher did have 1,400 or more attack there. So, but very, very well-fought games from both players' parts here. And Clody wins the second Trooper Locals. So, Clody is the Trooper Locals master here, winning with two different decks. This week is Gadget. This last week was with the with DDT Magical Explosion stuff. So that's pretty cool. Cool to see different decks taking it each week, and we'll have to see which deck manages to take it in the big monthly tournament coming up this Sunday. If you want to join that, head on over to the YGO from their Discord server and join in that. It should be a lot of fun. So that's going to do it for me, though, on this stream. I should be having another Trooper format video going up tomorrow before the big tournament starts. I'd like to get one more deck profile out and one more, gameplay video out as well. So look forward to that. And I should be streaming again exclusively on Twitch on Sunday. So stay tuned for that. If you want to see me play through a bit more of my Master Duel Masochist run and also play some assorted games as well. But I hope that you all enjoyed as always. Gerbil says, it seems like Gerbil and GLAM both like gadgets because GLAM says, always happy to see gadgets do well. And Gerbil says gadgets do be pretty neat. And I agree with both those sentiments. Always fun to see gadgets doing their stuff. Very iconic deck, very fun deck. And pretty good deck in this format overall and just this era of GX. So I actually think I need to do a gadget profile as well. So I was planning on doing Rhinos gadgets tomorrow. So that might be the gadget video that I do for Trooper stuff. And then after that, you know, I think there's only a couple more videos left in Trooper. I think Crystal Beasts definitely need coverage. Volcanic stuff needs coverage in some form or another. But beyond that, I'm not really sure what else there is. Let me know in the comments of this stream or on the Discord anything else you'd like me to show off in Trooper format. But then after that, we'll be shifting over into Perfect Circle, which, well, no, we're not Perfect Circle yet. We're Zombie. Zombie, that's what we're shifting into. And Zombie, coverage might go pretty quick. I need to figure out exactly what I'm doing for coverage because I'm a bit worried that at my current pace, we'll just finish up Zombies before the monthly tournament even happens for it. So that'd be a bit of a shame. But Zombie, I don't really think introduces that much. So, yeah, I don't know. I need to balance that out. I do have some ideas for other things I can use to fill some time. Like, for instance, Wheel Wednesdays. So that'd be kind of cool. Just having a random format decided by a wheel, and those videos would like come out every Wednesday. That'd be neat. I don't know. I got some other ideas for things to do. But let me know what you'd like to see down in the comments below, or in the comments of the stream, or wherever. But yeah, CS says that they kind of wish we got a gadget mirror. Well, we did get a gadget mirror in a sense earlier with Gerbil versus Good People Blondie, because Gerbil, I believe their main deck had gadgets in them. I think they sided out of the gadgets in games 2 and 3, but they did have gadgets around. So I think we did get to see a bit of a gadget mirror there. But yeah, cross-format expedition could be neat. That I generally tend away from cross-format exhibitions because I think while they are interesting, it's just like comparing apples and oranges at a certain point. Also, I think that at this point, there haven't really been two formats that I really want to see like go at it with each other. Because I feel like for a lot of the GX era, the decks from a GX era format is either going to be a Stein deck, and that can maybe compete with some old DM decks with just all the DM staples, or it's going to be a relatively fair deck that would just lose to the DM staple decks of the early DM era. So, and I feel like showing off, for instance, like Critter games versus other format decks would also be kind of, I mean, Critter decks are very underpowered compared to those decks. So it would be interesting, and maybe I'll do it in the future. But I think for now, I'm not going to do it. Maybe once we get further on in the game's history, though, I'll revisit that idea. But yeah, I don't know. It's tricky, like managing what I want to do on the channel and also just moving at a good pace through the formats. So I don't know. I'll figure something out. And the sure thing is that we're going to have good Yu-Gi-Oh streams, good Yu-Gi-Oh videos coming. You know, that's always the plan. So, if you like retro Yu-Gi-Oh, stick around. We got a lot of good stuff coming for you. But anyways, that's going to do it for the stream. I hope you all enjoyed as always. And until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off. Peace.